Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I'm your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the owner operator of Something Wicked Entertainment Events, and I want to welcome you to our program today. Now, I really hope that you've been sticking with our program as we love to delve deep into the amazing array of different types of horror films out there from different decades and different subgenres. That being said, we like to take a little bit of a different approach to when we discuss these films because we like to have a general conversation. We don't like to just critique it out loud. We like to take a little bit of a little nitty gritty look at an individual film each episode, in which me and my special guest kind of just shoot the shit about the movie. That being said, I don't know how our conversation about the movie today is going to go because it's a very polarizing film. But before we get to the name of the film, I would like to bring on my special guest, Mr. Philip Ray. Thank you, Philip, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And the film we're going to talk about today is Death of a Unicorn from 2025. Now, this is a very recent movie, which we don't usually do on the program, but we're trying to delve deep into all the different types of films out there. And this one's going to be an interesting conversation, I think. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. So this being a recent film, Philip, I know you probably had the chance to see it already. How did you come across the film first, and what were kind of your general impressions before I get into it?
So basically, it was all I saw was a horror movie about again, the premise of the story is this this father-daughter duo accidentally kill a unicorn on the way to someone's house and basically decide what to do with the dead body when the parent of the dead unicorn decide to basically decide to cause a ruckus and stuff. So I remember when I remember like, and it has Jenny Ortega and Paul Rudd in this, and I was like, this is around the time when Wednesday was getting very popular, and Paul Rudd, like, again, now we have Anaconda as well, but like when I saw Paul Rudd in a horror movie, I'm like, okay, I gotta give this a shot. I'm like, this sounds very wacky, very fun. Let me give this a shot. Now, what I actually think about the movie, I will reveal after Kevin talks.
So I recently just watched the film for the first time, mostly for the podcast, but also it was on my list of films that I wanted to see at the theater, but unfortunately I was not able to see it at the theater. And yes, I am a fan of Jenna Ortega, not just because of Wednesday, but also some of the other stuff she's done, including the Scream reboot films. But the fact that Paul Rudd was in the movie did not do anything for me. Paul Rudd is an actor I enjoy watching. Don't get me wrong. I have seen less movies than he's made. He's one of those actors who does a shit ton of stuff, and I have not seen it all. Although I will say that if you're not aware of it, Philip, he did get his start in the horror film, by the way, of Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. He did get a start in horror films. Like most actors, they start off in horror films. He did get a start there. So it is quite funny to see him go back, not only with this film, but with the recent Anaconda reboot, legacy sequel, whatever the hell they're calling that damn movie now. And when I saw the movie, it is definitely not what I was expecting the movie to ultimately be. Not necessarily the story wise, but the way the story is crafted around these multiple different types of themes that I was not expecting when I watched it. The trailer does it justice, but doesn't do it. They sell it on the concept. Like the concept for this film is actually quite a genuinely cool concept. It's the way the story unfolds that I'm not exactly 100% convinced with. And this coming from A24, who has done a plethora of amazing indie films, I should have expected that. But that's not what I was expecting when I saw the film. uh,
So that's interesting. So I had a kind of different thing with this movie. When I saw the trailer, I was expecting all right, seems very goofy. It seems kind of very cartoonish. I mean, with the premise and stuff. And watching the movie, that's basically what I got. It is not, I will say, is this like a movie that goes far beyond its concept? No. This, for me personally, what this was a movie that did exactly. If you saw the trailer, for me, I think you watch the trailer, you're gonna go, oh, it's probably this. Yeah, it is that. It does not go anything beyond that. Which can, depending on the viewer, can be good or it could be bad. They could go into it and expecting more. It sounds like Kevin, that was you, and be like, yeah, okay. Or if you go in expecting like, okay, this is just a killer movie with unicorns, and you'd be like, yep, that was fine.
Well, it depends. I didn't think it was like a. The thing is for me is I didn't think it was a horror film about a killer unicorn. This movie for me when I was watching it because of the themes of the family that the main characters find themselves in. Now, what the heck is Paul Rudd's character? All of a sudden, I just want to talk
Ellie,
about Elliot and Ridley. The family that Elliot and Ridley go to are a very rich family in which the patriarch played by Richard E. Grant, is dying, so to speak. He's dying. And so he's a lawyer who's been brought in to kind of facilitate what happens after he passes away and then control how the family's legacy is handled. Because the youngest son, his son, or his only son, Shepard, played by the amazing Will Poulter, I love that guy, is kind of a philanthroping, and not a very good philanthropist. I guess he likes to spend money, but not actually make money. So he has to have the purse strings pulled back a little bit. Whereas his wife, played by what's her face, Téa Leoni, who I don't recall seeing her in anything recently, but I always forget how good an actress she is kind of like the matriarch who just kind of just goes with the flow and everything like that. But they all have one thing in common, which is the greed and money aspect to them. Which is also the same thing that motivates Elliot. It gets a little annoying with the Elliot character because he's simply there for money. He knows it by being the lawyer for this family, he could put them on the board, and eventually put them in a higher status in 5 to 6 years. And then, of course, this family has so much money they don't worry about anything other than making more money and more money and more money off of everything that he can finally do. The unicorn is kind of like this, I guess this metaphor for how much people are willing to achieve their greed, because even in the pagan early tapestries, the old, I don't know what you want to call it, the old school myth with the unicorn, it was all about people in their greed and stuff like that. So I saw that as the main theme or underlying plot device for all the characters in the film, except for the Ridley character, who is not in this for greed at all. Because she's the one who, when they first encounter the young unicorn and they accidentally hit the unicorn with their car, she's the one that touches the unicorn's horn and sees a different world, an eye-opening experience, a euphoric experience. I don't know how you call it other than having this. Her understanding of the universe has changed. It's
yeah,
it's an interesting concept. Don't get me wrong; it's an interesting concept. I think spending so much time with the family members and everything that comes out of their mouth is all about money and greed and what they can do with this new it's like the unicorn's horn, which will bring them everlasting life and cure all diseases, is like oil to these people. We'll do whatever we have to achieve and get this unicorn's horn, no matter what the cost, because we know in the end it will mean nothing but money in our pockets. And they convince Elliot almost like the entire film that he has to have a stake in this greed. It's a cancer. It just eats at Adam Elliot's character the entire film. And for a while, it gets a little annoying for me because it seems like he's almost one note. And they almost, and when they have to force the story about why he's doing it, after Weirdly's mother dies, passes away. He feels obligated that he has to have this legacy for her to be able to do whatever, to give her whatever she wants. That almost seems a little forced to me. It does. And maybe it's 'cause it's coming from Paul Rudd, for crying out. Maybe it's coming from Paul Rudd. It seems a little odd to me.
Here's the thing with the movie. Everything you said is completely correct. The problem with the movie, the problems with the movie, it is so surface level. It is surface level with everything. This movie has nothing unique about it. Nothing unique about it. Everything with the rich family. You have seen audience members. You have seen this. You can probably guess how each one of them act based on just the fact they are snobby rich people. You have seen snobby rich people in a billion other movies. And as much as good as the actors are, like as much as like Richard Grant's great and Will Poulter are like genuinely good actors and Tia Loney, the problem is that their characters are written as basic as rich snobby people as they can get. And they do the best. The actors do the best they can. Honestly, the actors do as best as they can with it, and they do a decent job with it. I think with lesser actors, it would be worse. You hit about Elliot and Ridley. What you didn't mention again is you've got, once again, audience, tell me you haven't heard of this before. You've got a father who's having problems connecting with their daughter. And a lot of it stems from the fact of they lost because the mother is dead. And just the father just can't see eye to eye with the daughter and stuff. No matter how much he tries to relate to her, they just can't seem to get on the same page until something magically happened. And you can probably guess how in the end their relationship ends by the end of the movie and stuff. Spoiler: they end up reconciling because that's how movies work. And unfortunately, it's not done any better here. You hit the money. You very much hit the nail on the head too about Elliot. To be honest, Elliot's character does a lot of things in this movie that if it wasn't Paul Rudd, I think the character is irredeemable. A lot of the movie, it does a lot of things that. Honestly, if it wasn't the fact that it was Paul Rudd's face doing it, I think people would hate this character more. I think this character would have gotten so much grief, but because they casted Paul Rudd, who is, even when he's a dick, is still someone likable because it's Paul Rudd, is the only reason the Elliot character doesn't get more grief from probably audience members watching it. Because
No, I agree. I think Paul Rudd does do a lot of the heavy lifting because he's Paul Rudd. I think the film by the writer slash director has its problems because all the characters seem like caricatures, but it's not done in a finessed way for it to be what do you call it? Charismatic enough. Kind of like the characters in Ready or Not. Like those are caricatures, but there's something about those characters that make them pop. In this film, they're caricatures, but they don't really pop. Like, even Jenna Ortega, who unfortunately for the audience, if you've seen her in Wednesday, where she definitely pops the entire fucking show, she doesn't really pop. And without that pop, there's that thing where the film feels like it's on a C grade level, but never achieves B or A because it doesn't really take that leap of faith, or it doesn't have that style. It's saved a lot of the times whenever the unicorns show up. But then my biggest thing about the unicorns is they show up too much, and they look too CGI. And certain scenes just really I was like, oh man. To me sometimes. I just think they show them way too much, and they show the unicorns a lot in this movie.
I didn't mind that myself. I did appreciate there are some moments where it was like there is definitely a good amount of CG unicorns. I did like some of the practical unicorn effects that they did. They didn't do it often, but I at least appreciated the put the effort of doing that and not go 100% CG. The problem with the unicorns though is, hey, unicorn deaths are cool. I mean, they get a couple cool kills, but that being said, I'm like, if you've seen Cabin in the Woods, you kind of already seen at least half of those type of kills. I mean, again, it's not. There was never a moment with the kills because that's really at the end of the day, will probably half the audience that went to go see it went to go see it for. None of the kills are memorable enough that you'll be like, oh yeah. Like I remember the cabin in the woods is unicorn death kills more than this movie's kills. It's just the problem is it's just not it does this movie does the bare minimum with everything. It really felt from top to bottom. You want to hear something really sad, Kevin?
What?
You you know who almost did the music for this? John Carpenter. John Carpenter and his son did a score originally for this movie, and the director didn't like it.
Huh.
And so he ended up going with someone else. And it's like that's an example of like and then the score for this is fine, but it's nothing memorable. And I think that example is perfectly shuttles what this movie is. It is by the numbers. It is by the numbers on everything. The writing, you have the big thing with Jenna Ortega's character is there is a prophecy. I won't go too much into it for the viewers, but there's a prophecy with Jenna Ortega's character and stuff. But that's it. And like and everyone is just caricatures. And so it's just everything is just by the numbers. As soon as you hear how things are going, you probably know how they're going to end. There's nothing that it's a surprising factor in this movie at all, which is kind of sad because like you said, Kevin, if it doesn't go wacky enough, like Ready or Not's a great example, a great comparison of like Ready or Not goes out there. It was not afraid to just go all the way out there with some of its moments. This movie couldn't do that at times. It feels like they want to stick one toe out, but they don't want to go full leap of camp. So it's just middle of the road.
It's a hard yeah, it's a hard thing to toe the line because either you can go too far into camp territory, or you can go not enough, or you can be trying to go too serious so it doesn't seem like camp. The thing is, this unfortunately for this film, and unfortunately for me, I've seen a lot of films in which they take mythological creatures and they want to show them in a real world that they really exist. And of course, the unsuspecting regular man, humans, come across and kills, maims, or takes the child, and then the parents have to come to save the child because humans have stepped into their world and shit like that. This is not the first film to do that story. As soon as I saw that aspect of it while watching the movie, I was like, oh, okay, that's where we're heading. So I was hoping for a little bit more pop, oomph to it in order to make it seem not so much like films I've already seen. And that's one of the things, the problems I had with the movie. I mean, it's perfectly serviceable as a movie that you will easily forget unless you really, really, really enjoy seeing a unicorn kill people. Which is entertaining as hell, by the way.
Which, if you want that, it is. But you can also just watch Cabin in the Woods. The problem too with the movie too is, especially in the third act, it gets also very convoluted to a point. Like it gets weirdly convoluted with the third act, which was very weird. Also, I'm not sure if you noticed this, Kevin. I've actually heard they may have fixed this, but there was some weird editing in the third act too that also took me out of the movie for a moment.
Mm.
I'll try to be vague, but basically, it's a moment where a character decides to do a sacrifice and run away, and for some reason, it goes from night to day very quickly. Like the character runs off, and it's clearly night, and by the time the character comes back around, it is day, which in movie time was like less than 5 minutes. And it was like I remember because the finale is in the daytime when a lot of the action has been at night, but there never was like a dawn or twilight type deal. It just dramatically went from night to day. I remember watching it and I was like, what the hell did like I was like, what the hell just happened? I was like, that was such a weird editing choice because it's like, are you saying this one character ran the entire night? Like,
Uh, Unfortunately, in movie world, that's an old trope that used to happen all the time, and they used to care. It all depends on the story elements and how they wanted all of it to play up. One scene, the scene would start off in daytime, and the next thing you know, it turns dark because the scene requires it to be dark instead of daylight. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened in this movie. I wasn't paying enough attention to that to really catch it because I'm so used to it already happening all the time. That
well,
is,
I've seen that exact version I've seen before. Everyone's seen
yeah.
that. But the reverse is wild. To go from night to day is what I've not seen often. Of like they're going, oh, we need it to be bright out for this scene. I'm like, it's usually the opposite, where they're like, no, we need this to be dark for whatever reason, budget or whatever. We're going to suddenly make it dark. I've never seen the reverse of it, but often where they're like, all right, it's dark. All right, let's go ahead and turn the sun on because we need to clearly see these unicorns that are kind of CGI.
Well, also keep in mind that by the time we get to the very, very end of the film, you don't from a story and filmmaking aspect, you don't want to see the reconciliation with Ridley and the unicorns at night. It plays up better for her character in a daylight setting, so the audiences remember that it's not the unicorns that are the bad guys in the film. So I
Yeah.
can see why they did that for filmmaking purposes. For filmmaking purposes, that's what it really is filmmaking purposes. Which I want to discuss something like that, or something that I was bugging me for the second act of this movie. They spend a lot of time developing this whole ideal with the unicorn's horns being able to cure everything, and then of course the rich people led by the Richard E. Grant character who's gets his entire youth back by ingesting the unicorn horn, and because we learn that the blood unicorn horn all link it to being able to elongate life and cure all diseases, and then they have the doctors that come in do their whole little thing. For me, the moment they put the Paul Rudd character and Ridley into the little kind of like the bubble thing to quarantine them all to figure out what's going on, kind of like why do we need all this science shit in the middle of this movie? And that's the part of the movie I thought was kind of odd. I was like, you couldn't come up with a better concept than to make this all about pharmaceuticals and getting the horn to be pulverized in order to be able to create new drugs for the rich and famous only because you can't replicate it. And I was like, oh, okay. Jesus Christ. I got a better ideal about people, vanity, and staying young again when I watched The Substance than I needed to do in this movie because I was not expecting it, and it didn't really do much for me. I don't know about you, but it's like
No, it again, it's as soon as you see the rich people, it's gonna go exactly like this, like you said, and like you said, we've seen better versions of it, and it's not saying anything new. It's not saying anything new that other movies have not done better. at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. Most every movie that's ever featured that I know about a unicorn is that there's something magical and something different and something that everyone wants. And all of a sudden in this one, it's supposed to be a cure-all, a magical elixir for pharmaceutical companies that they could reproduce and make a ton of billions of dollars off of. And I was like, oh, this is where the movie's going. I wasn't expecting this, and I'm not really entertained at all. I was like,
No.
I want to see these people get killed now. I want to see them get killed. I think my favorite kill scene is probably when the first person, I think it was the doctor who's the first one that gets impaled by the unicorn horn, and then the one guy who gets his head squashed by the hoof of the unicorn, and then pretty much I don't remember any of the other kills.
Yeah, because they're all just kind of basically versions of that. Of like, I mean, when you got a unicorn, there's only a certain amount of ways you're going to. Again, creatively, they could have. There's more they could have done, but yeah, I mean, they're going to, they're going to do the what you would imagine a unicorn killing someone would do, which is just impale with horn, crush with hoof, kind of rinse and repeat.
Well,
Um,
they do pull apart the one female doctor.
Yeah, she that was probably like the biggest like slightly creative one. But yeah, I mean, again, at the end of the day, I mean, all I can say with this movie is it's okay. It's just again, I think your people's enjoyment of this movie is going to come into what your expectations are and stuff. I think this is a movie that if you watch it, if you and a couple of your friends want to watch this movie at home and drink beers or whatever, that's probably the best this movie's going to get of like enjoyment of. Other than that, it's really not. It is very forgettable. It is very by the numbers. It doesn't do anything new with any of its concepts. It is just like it's just, and for a director debut and for a written and director debut, it's not the best. I mean, it's not the worst, but it is. Again, it's like if this is what the director. Hopefully, I mean, there's nothing else been announced from this guy doing anything else, but it's like for his director debut, it's like he's got. It's just no voice. It's nothing. Again, just no voice in this.
So, what I do want to ask you is, what did you think of the design of the unicorn? So we see so few unicorns in horror movies. What did you think of the design for this one?
I was fine with it. I think um again, it has a little talon claw, which was cool. I mean, again, it did not rock my socks off, but it also was like, yeah, I mean, that's what a horror movie unicorn I would imagine. I did like a little bit of it playing around with like, when when it's evil, it was kind of had a blacker coat, but then when it was, you know, nice and like friendly, it's more of the white tone they were expecting and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't floored by it, but I also wasn't like I didn't hate it. I was like, yep, that's exactly what I would think for that design for this unicorn killer movie.
Yeah, because I actually like the talon part of the hoof. I thought that was clever. I like that because the first time we see it, we also hear it clicking on the whatchamacallit, the cobblestone or cement or whatever the hell it.
Yeah.
I thought that was really clever. It's something I hadn't seen before. My thing is I like the design of the unicorn. I did. I thought it was far removed from what you would think a horse would look like, which is why I liked it. And you get to see it real well with the corpse version of it. The CGI, uh, like I really, really, really wanted to see this. I know it's hard. I know it's hard. I wanted to see this unicorn all practical, but I know it's hard. It was a lot of CGI, but you get to see it a lot. So there is the camp who will love the design and love the fact that they see the unicorn all as much as they do, and then there is a camp that think that they should have held back a lot because you see it too much. I like the design, but I do think they show it too much in the movie. But I also know that I don't know how they would get past showing it as much as they did. I did think it was a little clunky when the unicorn is going through the house looking for each individual person. I was like, oh, okay. Uh, it's running up the steps to get up to the second floor. It's certain things like that that were like, oh, okay. Um, I guess it will work. Because it was for me, it really felt like the filmmakers were trying to make this mythological creature, which is huge, like almost a slasher, killing these people off one by one, but it's a unicorn. And so it was intriguing to watch, but not as interesting to watch as if it was like a typical slasher movie. If you get what I'm trying to say here.
Oh yeah, no, they definitely the unicorn is basically functionality as a slasher, which again, it's like it could like again, you have the concept of these unicorns to get into the house, and you have again these unicorns, supposedly magical creatures. They could have played around with maybe the unicorns use portals to get inside. Maybe they use some magic to get in. No, they just kind of bulldoze through. I mean, functionality. They serve as much as like a slasher as like a bear or whatever. Like they don't. There's nothing. They really don't do a lot of magic. Like there's not a moment where they use like a magical beam to like just to let the viewers know there's no like magical beams that the unicorns use to like decapitate someone or whatever, or they don't use like magical powers to levitate or to make portals, whatever. No, it's just a unicorn. It is functionality, just acts like an animal. That's just a unicorn. And that is again a good example of like if they really want to be campy, have the unicorn use his powers to kill people as well as goring and all that. No, they just treat it like an animal at the end of the day that supposedly has magical properties, but they never use them other than when they're being used for drugs and stuff.
Which how do you bring that up? That was very interesting concept, and it was something I was not expecting. The Will Poulter character, the son who has a drug problem, obviously, and decides to start snorting the pulverized unicorn dust. I thought that was hilarious. And then, of course, that plays into his character in the third act a little bit more. Hilarious, but a weird tangent all the same. Because now he's seeing the universe for what it really is. I thought that was kind of weird. I don't know about you. I thought it was kind of weird that he has to snort this shit to actually get to see anything, whereas
Yeah.
the other characters touch the unicorn horn and are shown it. But it has to be lit up when the unicorn horns lights up is when they can see this stuff. When the unicorn horn is just a horn, they don't see any of this shit. So I was like, so why does he get this experience just by snorting it if it's not activated? And it was like, okay, that's weird. It doesn't work from the logic as I see it, but it's cool to see Poulter be high off of a fucking unicorn snorting.
It's mostly served to again to do it is for the exact phrase a character gets high snorting a unicorn horn. That is all the logic that it is. It is just so that phrase could be said about this movie. There is no logic about it.
Uh, I think this film probably works better as a film where a lot of it's just surface stuff, like you were
Yeah.
saying earlier. I don't think this is one of the better A24 releases. I literally think that this is a concept driven film. I think the concept is what sold it. Like there was no one else out there probably with a script about killer unicorns. Uh, I really do think that this is a concept driven film that was made that way. You have it's a great concept. It's fucking killer unicorns. It's not we don't see that every day. And then you get Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega in it. I mean, I don't. actually know how successful the film was itself at the box office. I have not looked that up, so I don't know if
It
it was or wasn't.
it it did not do well. It was essentially a bomb. It made budget it went to it was 16.4 million to a $15 million budget.
Mm,
So
okay.
it barely got through. It barely made it its budget back, but it did not exceed. So it's pretty much a box office failure.
Mm, okay. Yeah, yeah, I couldn't remember. To be honest with you, I remember this coming. I remember there being a lot of hype for it, and I believe the concept is what brought up the hype. I think when it actually came out, it kind of died really fast. Is how I
Oh
recall.
yeah, no, it died very fast. I mean that week, uh, it the thing that made the most money that week or that month it came out was A Working Man. So it definitely did not have a lot of
Competition.
it didn't have a competition, and it was not a very like it's not a big like it came out in it came out in March and stuff, which is not a bad it's not a bad time to have a movie come out, but it just yeah, it was not a it just was not a good window for whatever reason.
Hmm.
And I honestly I think this movie should have like this is one of those movies that it could have just went straight to streaming and no one would have done it. It would have not affected like it didn't need a theatrical release.
Well, you keep forgetting that when we talk about horror films, the thing that sells horror films to general horror audiences, I say general in a good term, is the concept. Most horror films are concept driven, and this has a really novel concept. Uh, I think with A24 though, people think of prestige above horror. I think they've done some horror, but they think of prestige. They think of Midsummer. They think of they think of stuff that's prestige horror, not so much general horror. Um and I don't even think Midsummer did extremely well at the box office. I think that one is one of those films that were audiences and critics liked it, loved it, and then saw it when it was more or less streaming. Um, I gotta look at that one because I still haven't seen.
Midsummer did well.
I can't, for some reason, I don't think I keep thinking that that one just kind of just did okay. Um,
It did 48.5 million off a $9 million budget. So it definitely tripled its profit.
yeah,
But
okay.
also it didn't cost anything either.
Yeah, well, yeah. Surprise. Well, that was before what's her face, Florence Pugh, it became huge. You know,
Yeah.
try and get her now for a movie that's only $9 million budget. It's gonna be a lot harder.
The 9 mil that would be her budget alone.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was like, yeah, I don't think she'd do that film now. And if she did, she'd probably be an executive producer or producer on the film in order to get it made. Uh, but like I said, this film wasn't by a first time feature director. He's done lots of other stuff, but this, I think he's only done this in one other short, if I'm not mistaken. Because this one just came out last year. But I mean, that's a lot of prestige and clout to have on your first film without a lot of prior stuff, directing stuff that is. Like I said, he's done other stuff, but directing stuff. And visually speaking, it's not a bad film. I mean, it's a very large canvas and it's CGI for a film that's what you say you cost 16 million for this movie?
It was 15 million.
Yeah, 15 million. So relatively speaking, it still looks really good for a $15 million horror film from A24. That I mean, like I said, there's one thing about A24, they've done all these prestige projects, but to be honest with you, I guarantee you they're trying to make projects that are actually really profitable to survive in the climate that we have now. Um, Very few entities can continue making these low budget movies and just eking by a small profit. And A24 is a major studio out there doing a lot of projects now. They used to do maybe 2 or 3 a year, and now they're doing what, 10, 15, or almost like a mini major now.
Yeah.
So I mean, I commend them for taking chances on stuff like this. Like I said, I wanted to see it at the theater because the concept was just really cool with me. I was not satisfied with the overall execution of it, but that's why I want to talk to you about it, is because there's certain things about it that I know will generate conversations because it's a fucking horror film with unicorns.
Mm-hmm.
There was one other thing I want to. Oh, the ending to the film. Now, just so everyone, this will be, I guess, a minor spoiler because I want to get his opinion on what exactly he thought the ending was. But we're going to be talking about spoiler territory. So if you haven't seen the movie Death of a Unicorn, please go out there, stop this podcast now, go out there, watch the movie till the end, and then come back here and listen to the rest of the podcast. But Philip, I wanted to ask you exactly, first of all, were you satisfied with the way the story unfolded and ended? And then what were your thoughts on what happened to the Elliot and Ridley character when they're in the cop car being chased, or not so much chased, is accompanied by the family of unicorns that they've helped more or less save?
I mean, the ending was, again, because we're in spoiler territory with all this.
That's why
I really think Elliot should have died. Honestly, the thing is, he was, other than the fact he's Paul Rudd, he was kind of irredeemable. And the problem is, he doesn't learn his lesson really in the end. Like, he learns his lesson, but he really suffered no consequences for all of his bad action throughout the movie. And that was one thing that kind of bothered me about it, is that, yeah, he got no consequences. And then, as for the scene with the police car, it was a very, very random. And apparently, like, there's a lot of different interpretations about. I'm kind of curious where you land on it, Kevin, of like the two ideas of, okay, did the unicorns ran the police car because they were trying to save Elliot and Ridley? It was like, hey, we're going to like get you out of there, but also like, that's also making the assumption they could survive a car going off a cliff. Or the other option, which was they were like, yeah, no, we're still kind of bad. We're going to actually kill you now. No, I'm not. I didn't know this originally. I had to look this up. Apparently, during the end credits, they did show the tapestry again, and they did basically show the unicorns. Like, basically, a unicorn rams off a carriage into a lake, and two people are swimming away from it. So that was basically the filmmakers basically telling the audience, hey, Ellie and Ridley didn't die, just so everyone's aware.
So I did not read about the film. I was going by what some of the stuff in the film was saying. This is why I was asking, because there is this ideal or interpretation between the Ridley character and her explaining a lot of what she saw when she touched the unicorn's horn, and then everything that Elliot saw when he touched the unicorn horn. Because at one point they both claim that that the wife who passed away, they saw her, and that at some weird universal ideal or place where the unicorns reside is the ideal of this wholesome heavenly afterlife. And at that point is where you go when you die. And that seemed like a very weird and crazy ideal to me when they were mentioning like these little snippets of it in their conversation about it, until I see the unicorns running alongside the truck, and Elliot has this look like he understands what the unicorns are trying to get him to do, and then they both agree upon it, which is why Elliot and Ridley gather together or hug each other, awaiting the unicorns ramming the car off the road, as their final gift to these two. They'll be able to they'll die, go into this afterlife, and see the dead mother slash wife that has tragically caused them to be the way they are. Now, I don't know because I didn't read shit about the movie. That's my slight and crazy interpretation of what it is. And I'm sure the filmmakers are like, well, we're not going to explain it all. We just want it to be open ended and you figure out and you come up with your own ideas for it. I just want to see what you thought of it. And I won't read anything about it unless I see another book from A24 or my Devil's Advocate series, which I've talked about a lot on this program, in which they interpret or reinterpret and ask questions about the interpretation of certain movies. They don't have a book on the death of a unicorn yet, and I have not read anything from A24 putting out a book on Death of a Unicorn yet, so I don't have that reference point. But to be honest with you, this film is not a film I would readily go out there and search for that type of stuff because the overall film itself did not interest me enough to know it or want to know it.
Yeah,
I was asking you. I don't know. I honestly don't know, and I just thought it was curious, and I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on it.
yeah. I again, for me, it's like again the whole thing is about corporatism and stuff. And and so I didn't care too much about that. And the day wasn't anything new. And then yeah, again, I just felt that the Elliot character really did not suffer any consequences for his bad actions. So I was a little disappointed when it's like, yep, he's alive again. It's like, oh, okay, I guess so. And then yeah, it's just and then them getting arrested, and again, it just ended very, very weird with the unicorns like saving them. I did not look. The theming of it all was just meh.
So I am agreeing with you about the Elliot character. I think the Elliot character, the entire movie, is almost irredeemable. He literally, the first scene with the unicorn, he literally bashes the head in.
Yeah,
Bashes the head in of the baby unicorn. He's trying to hide the existence of the unicorn and what he did from the family, the rich family, for as long as he can. He just wants to bury it and make believe it doesn't exist. He doesn't listen to his daughter. The entire film, he just dismisses her. The entire film. And then behind the family's back, he's also stealing the unicorn horn because he doesn't want to be cut out of the profits from it. I'm like, dude, no, he's like, I was like, okay, he died. He may have, he sacrificed himself. Oh, I'm fine with him dying. And then they bring him back. And I was, oh, well, that's, this is, I mean, he's more despicable than everyone else, to be honest with you. Everyone else in the family,
absolutely.
What they're going after.
Yes, and then the explanation at the end with the reveal of like, oh, I've been acting this way because this is kind of what the wife said and stuff. I was like, bull crap. That is such a half-ass kind of explanation to excuse. Again, if it wasn't for Paul Rudd, if this was another actor in this role, Elliot would have been way more despised.
Yeah.
But because it's Paul Rudd, there's a lot of things that I think people would look the other way on. But no, yeah, this character is, I agree, is the most irredeemable of the whole entire movie. He does multiple things that are just completely, not even listening to her daughter, just in general, selfish things that his justification were never justified. And again, by the end of the movie, he receives nothing. Actually, my joke when I watched the movie, when the unicorns attack the car, and my joke in my head when I was watching was the unicorns remembered, oh yeah, you did kill the baby. Now we're gonna kill you.
Yeah, I can't get away. I can't get through the part that he literally bashed the head into the unicorn at the very beginning. And like not once, but multiple times. Like, damn.
Yeah, and then just shrugs it off, and then gets mad at Ridley for being upset about it and stuff. And it just, again, it's just his character. He's not a good written character, and stuff. And again, they really lucked out of having Paul Rudd in this role, because I think that is the only thing that kind of slightly helps people's stomach the actions of Elliot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. I we agree a lot on this film. I thought we were going to be opposites, because we had never discussed anything about this movie between each other. I think we may have briefly told me you saw the movie when it came out, but then it's been a while since it came out now. So, and I just finally got around to seeing it. But yeah, that's kind of like I like to have these discussions about this film because this is one of the rare instances for me that I was not satisfied with an A24 film. I think some of my expectations were a little bit high because I generally like a lot of what A24 has produced and released. And I thought this film probably would have worked better if it had been a Jason Blumhouse production.
Yeah.
It probably would have also been extremely profitable too. He probably would have done it for like $5 million and made 16 or $20 million, and that's 3 times its budget, so it would have been profitable. So any other thoughts about this film?
No, I mean, again, we said it all. We said it a lot throughout this episode. Of it is a by the numbers type of movie. It is serviceable at best. It does nothing different. You'll watch the movie, be like, oh, okay, that was fine, and then move on with your life. Uh, so
It's so
and I
depressing sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, no, it is kind of sad because, I think the original like concept and premise and stuff, it's like, oh, this could be something kind of fun, and it's like, eh.
Mm. I will say this though, as an audience members, we want it to be fun, but I think the actors are probably having more fun than we are watching it. Especially Will Poulter. Uh,
Yeah.
I can't get past the fact that he seems to be having the most fun in this entire fucking movie. um, with that, I want to thank you, Philip, for having this conversation about Death of a Unicorn. For everyone here listening to the show, what we love to do is we like to rate the film between 1 and 5, but we like to do something a little different. We like to rate it based on an object, quote, or thing in the movie. 1 being extremely poor, 5 being amazing. Where on the spectrum, Philip, do you put Death of a Unicorn, and what object or saying or quote do you want to attribute to it?
I would give Death of a Unicorn 2.5 uh grounded up unicorn horns out of 5.
So you actually rated it higher than me. I'm gonna give it 2 unicorn impalements because of the fact that I have already started to forget the movie and I only watched it a day ago. um I'm sure, I'm hoping that I can in a future time, after I read something, say from Devil's Advocate book series, and I don't just because I say it all the time doesn't mean I'm a paid sponsor of the books. I just love to read them because they're extremely well produced and put together and gives me a greater insight on the intentions of movies. If they do a book on this movie and I read it and I enjoy the book and the concept they have it, I'm sure I will see something else. But that is one of the reasons, everyone, why we don't do current films that often. We haven't had the time to kind of digest and to kind of properly, in my opinion, evaluate some films because sometimes they just take a little time to do so. I do hope that when the time comes, we are able and willing to readjust and look at this film again. That we will do it. In hindsight, we might find a lot of shit in this movie that we didn't see before. That is not always the case, but we do hope that you've enjoyed this conversation about the film. And if you are curious about it, which I was curious, and so was Philip, which is why we saw it, you should go check it out. Your opinions are just as valid as our opinions, and we hope that your enjoyment of the film will not be hindered by what we say. But we do hope that you do have your own opinion and that you enjoy the film if you do enjoy the film, because there are people who do enjoy the films that we don't always enjoy. With that, I want to thank you all for joining us on our excuse me and cough there, everyone. I do want to hope I do hope that all of you have enjoyed our program and listened to us talk about this movie. And I hope that you will seek out other episodes that we've done in the past. We have done some amazing episodes of some amazing films and some films that are not so amazing. Please make sure to check those out as well. And make sure to check out our other podcast, Conversations Hammer Studio Horrors, in which we delve deep into the Hammer Studio films of the 60s and 70s. If you love classic horror films, you're going to love that podcast. Make sure to like, follow, share, subscribe, do that thing you do on your favorite podcast app, Spotify or YouTube. This show's regular episodes are every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Our other show, Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors, is every first and third Friday at 8 a.m. And from all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, we want to wish you a happy, happy day. And please, when you see a unicorn, please don't kill it. Don't kill it. Leave it alone. Have a great day. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.